9:17 on the morning show with Jeff and Will, AM 1700, WRCR Haverstraw, WRCR.com. Welcome back. Joining us now, as she does at this time every Monday, Tina Traster, who is the guiding visionary force behind RCBizJournal.com. Good morning, Tina. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
That's what we do here.
I love it. Thank you for stroking my ego. Much needed on a Monday. A little bit of housekeeping first. So on Wednesday, we have coffee with the editor at 8:30 at Roasted, ROAST, apostrophe D, the great little coffee shop in Nanuet, at the Shops of Nanuet. 8:30, come on down. Somebody had asked me if any kind of reservation was needed. Absolutely not. Just flow in and we'll talk the talk. That's number one. And number two, I just want to mention that the Valley Cottage Library does a tremendous job exhibiting the work of really talented artists, photographers, painters. Each painter or artist gets an entire month to show their work, and the work is prominently displayed, and it's really beautifully done. And I am lucky enough to be that photographer for the month of July. So I'm looking forward to this. Mark your calendars if you can. On July 13th, from 1 to 3, we'll have a reception. The exhibit is called American Beauty, and it's sort of a compilation of landscape and street photography, and it's just kind of my take on the beauty of America. So hope to see some of you there. Moving on. Unless there are any questions.
Nope, you're good.
Okay.
What else have we got on the agenda?
Well, this story, we had to put up two stories back to back on the former IBM HNA Palisades Training Center. If you have been following the in-depth reporting that we have been doing for 3 years, you know that the HNA Center pretty much crumbled, particularly by the time the pandemic hit, and the town of Orangetown has inserted itself in order to steer the future redevelopment of that 106-acre bucolic site. Many people still associate that site with IBM, the IBM campus that was once there, was built for IBM, and it was once there. It's got a beautiful architectural building, or once was a beautiful building. Now it's completely degraded. Anyway, that site turned over to the Chinese-owned HNA company, which continued to run the conference and hotel center for a while. And then a few years ago now, maybe 2018, 2019, HNA had tried to sell it. And they were going to sell it to a Hasidic group from Brooklyn. And that sale fell through. In the interim, the Nyack College was sold to a yeshiva group. And not long after that, the town of Orangetown stepped in to play a role in to figure out what developer should move forward with that site. The purported reason being was that site should not become a, quote, nonprofit, really what they were saying is a religious school, and that site should remain on the tax rolls. So they held a contest, now this is 2021, 3 years ago, to try to tap a developer. And though there were two local developers vying for the redevelopment of that site, the one that Orangetown picked were a pair of California-based I don't know how much development experience they have. One was in real estate, one's done sort of small housing. And they picked this pair. They're now called Reveal. And that was about 3 years ago. But HNA wouldn't, as Teresa Kenny, Orangetown supervisor, said, HNA would not get out of its own way. The sale never materialized. And in the interim, a totally unexpected turn took place where HNA lost the property to SL Green, which is a gigantic REIT in New York City, through a bankruptcy case. That brings us closer to where we are now, which is that SL Green had the property in hand and could have sold it to anybody, but Orangetown stayed at the table. And what's supposed to be happening pretty much as we speak today, or tomorrow, I think it's today, SL Green is supposed to sell the property to this group, Reveal. And then Reveal is going to supposedly develop the site. Now, originally, what Reveal had envisioned was to rehabilitate the hotel, as a signature part of the property. And they had only proposed at the time 30 townhouses, and they had a whole bunch of other kind of I used to call it kind of a little facetiously, it was kind of like the Brooklyn Project, because it had farming and cooperative spaces and, workspaces, and it had all these amenities that were very nice, and glamping was another, and that was then. That was then. That was about 3 years ago. Why this is all in the news right now, and we did 2 stories back to back, is that they're supposed to go to a closing today, but last week this development group, Reveal, came to the town of Orangetown and said, we need you to immediately and as an emergency update our memorandum of understanding, because instead of building 30 townhouses, now they want to build 342 townhouses and apartments on the site, which is 10 times more than the original proposal 3 years ago. So back on Tuesday's meeting, this was discussed, and there was no action taken by the town board. But then on Friday at 3:30, the town held an emergency meeting, essentially to clear the path for the developer to move forward with their purchase today, so that they had essentially a tacit understanding that they'll be able to, build out this property to the degree that is now the plan, but that was not the plan originally. So the town board did hold this emergency meeting on Friday, and they did give them the green light on this MOU with some conditions. Those conditions include that, and this seems to be a big priority coming from somewhere, that the developer has agreed to refrain from flipping the property to a, quote, nonprofit, quote, entity for 2.5 years after the purchase is complete, and that the town also would have the first right of refusal for 5 years if the property is sold. So this is, this is a big deal. It's a big impact for this site. They say that they're going to rehab part of that hotel. That seems hard to believe. The hotel is absolutely degraded. The utilities have been off for years. Wildlife lives there. It's filled with mold. I don't see how that structure will be rehabbed, is one issue. Now, while the developer will still have to go through the process of, planning board and possibly zoning board, I don't know if they need variances yet, still, what hasn't really been looked at all are the impacts to the environment, to traffic, all the stuff that would be, I suppose, dealt with at the planning board level. But still, this was not the original plan. The developer's comment and Teresa Kenny's comment is that we're not in the same environment. That in order to buy this property, I guess, and to make it worth the developer's while, they have to build at this scale. They did stand up and say at a meeting that they will make this hotel a gem, their words, for the community, a place to gather, and some other add-ons. But 342 units in Palisades is more residential units than that leafy enclave has all together. Palisades is, it's a very unique hamlet, I guess it is, and it's probably one of the wealthiest hamlets in the county, and it's got, all told, a low population and zero housing density. So this will be a definite game changer for Palisades.
Yeah, but it's in an area that's away from a lot of the more expensive homes. It's sandwiched between 340 and 9W. And like you said, it's been this unused giant, 120 acres or so?
106.
Yeah, okay. So, but it's a ginormous piece of property. I mean, you don't think that it can absorb that?
It can absorb that. I think the issue is the traffic that spills onto 9W. I think you're right, that it's set back. I mean, it's always been a trophy piece of property, and I can understand the sentiment of wanting to keep it open and beautiful. And once you put in 342 housing units, it's just not the same piece of property. So, and the other thing that's been raised, I have to say, all over Facebook is, what about affordable housing? Every supervisor chimes in on we need affordable housing, but where is it? I mean, I'm presuming that, I wonder if this will have any affordable set aside. That certainly has not been mentioned in all of these presentations thus far. So if you're going to build 242 units, particularly apartments, small units that are needed for millennials and EMT workers and empty nesters, so, where is the affordability element here? It's something that's been raised on Facebook, and I think that's a really legitimate question. A lot of questions, but the bottom line is that the board, raced to accommodate this developer, because bottom line is they want to see this property developed once and for all. If it has to be 10 times the amount of housing units, so be it. The main goal is to keep it out of the hands of, as everybody keeps saying, a quote nonprofit. So I guess that's where we are, and we are going to continue to track this important piece of property and to see what happens with it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us as always. More information and e-newsletters and all that good stuff can be found at rcbizjournal.com. Thanks, Tina. We'll talk to you again on Monday.
Have a great week.
Thanks, you too. That's it for the morning show for this Monday morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Stay tuned for Crossroads of Rockland History.